Does the left want people to be trans trenders? Hey, it's Prince of Queens, and I just had a little thought that honestly seemed like it could have been common sense for any conspiracy minded LGBT YouTube personality who is critical of the current state of the left. But wait, maybe I'm the only one that really fits that description. Regardless, from National Geographic's Gender Revolution story that came out in January of this year, to Pop and Ollie and queer kid stuff, to D-list internet celebrities like these people and this person, to the recent article in Vogue magazine about non-binary people, well, all of it seems like not only is the non-binary genderqueer or agender stuff a trend that sort of came from Tumblr land, but also really seems to be being pushed by corporate leftist legacy media in a way to potentially directly influence the mainstream masses. I mean, this Jacob person only has a bit more than 4,000 followers on Twitter, and yet they have a verification checkmark that they won't give Sargon of Akkad, who has 231,000 Twitter followers. It's like these non-binary media personalities who don't even really make content get to wear the official hallway monitor sash in elementary school, because they are obviously that much of teachers' pets. Why? This trend seemingly isn't as popular as the media conglomerates who decided to run with it a few years ago expected it to be, but of course, the people in charge of the messages that are put forth by leftist media are not particularly great at predicting outcomes. So then it finally occurred to me. Does mainstream leftist media actually want to pressure people into being transgender, or at least feeling like they are not cisgender, and thus becoming a trans-trender? Does the left-wing establishment have a tangible reason to hope that people stop being cisgender? Was this trend organized and calculated? I mean, think about it like this. Anybody these days can decide to label themselves as non-binary. Hell, I could put on some eyeliner and dye my beard purple and put on some glitter and I could say I'm non-binary. It's not exactly hard. But what would that really accomplish? Well, basically nothing besides allowing me a tribalistic classification. All of the sudden, the doors to the queer scene, which is full of fourth-wave intersectional feminist social justice types, would be open, and maybe I wouldn't get weird looks if I decided to go hang out on the Evergreen College campus. But even more importantly, the other 95 or 99% of the nation would think that I'm a total fucking wacko, special snowflake, and they would probably mock me from the passenger seat of a car if they drove by me walking down the street. And maybe, just maybe, I'd start feeling like a victim. I might get shit at the 7-Eleven when I'm buying beer at 12:30 at night because the random immigrant cab driver buying coffee might not be familiar with non-binary people who are masculine presenting but femme-identified like myself. And he might make a joke to the cashier and they'd snicker at me. Oh, my oppressions. Once they'd snicker, I'd tell my friends about it back at the queer safe space, and they'd tell me that I was trans-bashed. Then I'd maybe wonder if bash was really the correct term, but then they'd remind me, of course, that words are violence, and that I am in a category of people with the highest likelihood to face discrimination and be murdered for daring to exist outside gender confines. And of course, the gay men I used to hang out with prior to dyeing my beard purple and calling myself non-binary would be of little help. They wouldn't understand why I would claim I am no longer male, because all they want is to be happily married to as masculine of a person as possible. They don't care about femme-identified people born with XY chromosomes that have purple beards. So of course, after I decided to change my life in this way and basically create a whole lot of random and arbitrary problems for myself, which didn't really need to exist for any reason, aside from the urge to express my authentic self with a purple beard so that I could obtain a very small amount of benefits that are only present when hanging out with one specific type of queer feminist people who aren't very much fun anyway. After all of this, when people like myself with dyed purple beards see icky mean men like Donald Trump as our president, it will be super easy to influence me to vote for whomever doesn't speak like a big, aggressive meanie. Having a president that says mean things will seem a lot like verbal violence directed at me, sort of like I experienced at 7-Eleven from an immigrant, after all. The point I'm making is this: TransTrenderism is a state of perpetual paranoia brought on by a very deliberate personal effort put forth towards ensuring that the people around you never exactly understand you. Because clearly, if I'm dyeing my beard purple and identifying as a masculine presenting femme, I obviously don't want people to. Trans-trending, non-binary identified people take every personal insecurity that they have deep inside of them in regards to gender and feeling like an outsider, and then mix these insecurities with new nervousness around not being able to fit into being the opposite sex. There's not a man alive who has never questioned his own masculinity, or a woman who has never felt confined inside her own femininity. LGBT people tend to have these problems in spades, regardless of whether they have ever considered being anything besides cisgender. So what happens when people's internal monologue around such gender questions becomes external and on display to the entire world? Once these people obsess over these insecurities outwardly in a way that probably should have been kept internal until they managed to grow up a bit and grow comfortable in their own skin, these people can create a group hysteria of unhappiness that isolates their group from the general population. Once isolated, these people can easily be controlled, and they will want to vote for any politician that attempts to validate them in any way. And of course, all somebody really has to do to make these people feel more validated than Trump or any Republican would be for this person to say, this candidate, rather, all they have to do is say, I am a feminist candidate. Basically, this trend is more or less asking anybody willing to become emotionally helpless, so that eventually they can become an easily influenced voting bloc, and young people are so lost and confused that they are signing up willingly and without question. It's really kind of sad. Please help me out so I can keep making videos, and stay tuned.